You will never be fully healed from trauma. Healing isn't static, it requires movement, and mental health occurs on a spectrum. It's Alpha Krieger here, and today I want to address a few misconceptions about healing. In my video, How to Truly Heal from Trauma, I explore how healing isn't a one-time thing, but a construction. I argue that what truly works isn't sexy, it's the compounding effect of our mundane and daily choices that disrupt our coping mechanisms and promote an identity shift. Every tiny action and seemingly significant choice tips the scale in favor of our transformation. In the beginning, we feel like nothing is happening, but if we can persist, suddenly we start experiencing ourselves differently. We step out of trauma and create momentum for our minds to shift every time we choose to work on our goals instead of giving in to victim mentality. Every time we go to the gym instead of indulging in addictive behaviors. And every time we place boundaries instead of engaging in toxic relationship dynamics. When I finally started feeling better and most of my CPTSD symptoms were gone, I noticed that I had created a solid system for myself that included the following: going to the gym 4 times per week and walking at least 8,000 steps per day, proper nutrition, so eating healthy about 80% of the time, yoga and meditation, time to explore my creativity with music, quality time for my relationship, massive focus on my projects which gives me purpose and meaning, and inner work, which included psychotherapy, dream analysis, and active imagination. And by the way, I share my whole process and teach you how you can become proficient in Jungian psychology in 1 year to either become your own analyst or integrate it into your therapeutic or coaching practice at the Audacity University. So all of these variables combined created not only a powerful antidote to healing from CPTSD, but also propelled me to live a more inspired and creative life. Separated, each one of these components doesn't have the necessary power to tip the scale. However, when they are combined, a new synthesis occurs and a higher order emerges. And the opposite is also true. When we eliminate one of these variables, we might corrupt the whole system. To illustrate my point, I must tell you that I was really committed to doing yoga last year. But since I returned from my vacation in February, I have completely stopped. But recently, I found myself a bit more agitated and anxious than normal. So I decided to review my system. And I realized that I hadn't done any yoga, specifically meditation and focus training, in about 6 months. And now that I finally went back, I feel more calm and at peace again. The same thing happens when I'm not giving much attention to my inner work or playing music. I just feel like there's something missing and start feeling more, snappy. And all of these experiences made me realize that healing isn't static. It requires constant movement. A very simple way to understand this is to bring this analogy to fitness. When we want to lose weight, we have to watch our diets, change what we eat on a daily basis, and focus on burning more calories. You have a system in place to reach your goals. However, if you simply stop and go back to your old ways, you're going to regain all the weight back. Once we lose the weight, we have to keep the habits going. Nothing is static. This leads us to the concept of entropy, and simply put, this is a principle derived from thermodynamics, which dictates that systems have the natural tendency to disorder, randomness, and uncertainty. In fact, the whole universe and human life are subject to this principle and a constant push for disintegration. And Carl Jung, in Structures and Dynamics of the Psyche, applies the same idea to psychological processes. The psyche also tends to disorder, and unless we intervene and actively strive to tip the scale in favor of integration, we are bound to face psychological hardships. That's why it's imperative to become active and constantly take action to find equilibrium and generate momentum. Again, nothing is static. And if we don't take any measures, the only certainty we have is that we are basically losing our lives. When a muscle isn't used, it atrophies. However, when we are constantly engaging our bodies, we positively impact the system and our muscles start growing. In the beginning, I mentioned that mental health occurs on a spectrum, and this is an idea from Aaron Antonovsky, who created the salutogenic approach to complement the medical model. And simply put, Antonovsky states that we are never fully sick or fully healthy. We are on a continuum. And our place in it is dependent on our daily habits, as well as internal and external factors. Furthermore, his model was adopted by the positive psychology field, as they aren't interested solely in combating diseases, but also in promoting well-being, fostering talents, creativity, and living a more meaningful life. So before the idea of entropy and our mental health being placed on a spectrum, the systems we built to generate health had to be sustainable and flexible enough to accommodate internal and external changes. We must see the variables as tools to play with and not as a fixed thing. The system I described I've created might seem like a lot at first, but let me tell you that it's actually quite simple. I separate 1 hour per day to go to the gym first thing in the morning, and then I usually go on a walk at the end of the day. In between my therapy clients and writing sessions, I usually separate 30 minutes to play music, and 2 or 3 times per week I separate 30 minutes to focus on my inner work. Depending on what's going on in my life, I can adjust the time of the day I do these things, as well as the duration and frequency. I can easily do that because each one of these actions have already become solid habits. But of course, I didn't start them all at once. So now I want to share another concept that completely changed my life, the Pareto principle, which dictates that 80% of our results come from 20% of our actions. When we apply this to our systems, it means that usually 1 or 2 habits will make or break the entire system, making them keystone habits. To illustrate this, I want to bring an example from a client of mine that happened very recently. She was telling me how difficult it was to find motivation to wake up early and go to the gym, despite feeling amazing when she did. Now, one important factor in motivation is to correlate everything that we do to a bigger picture. Every tiny action needs to be embedded with purpose. In this particular case, we discussed how going to the gym brings a lot of content, promotes discipline and focus, and makes her way more productive throughout the day. And all of these benefits can be directly applied to her main goal of building her online business, which is the most important thing for her at the moment. But we didn't stop there, because there was something missing, a way of generating commitment. When we are in the process of building intrinsic motivation, it's smart to play with external factors. She mentioned that every time she had this particular fitness class, she would easily wake up early and then everything would run smoothly during the day. She was really excited because this is something she wanted to do for a long time now, but they're really expensive, so she was only going once a week. Now, when we invest in something, we give it more value. And when there's someone like a teacher to keep us accountable, we're more likely to commit, especially if there's a time for it, like a class. After our exploration, she decided to go to these classes more frequently, which also helped her to cut her expenses on unnecessary stuff. And this one change made her entire system work. And to me, what makes my whole system work is going to the gym first thing in the morning. If I can just do that, everything else runs smoothly from there. This takes us to the last concept, keystone habits. And these are habits that, once established, have the power to organize the entire system. Everything gravitates around it. And that's why we don't have to focus on starting a lot of things at once. We simply have to focus on the 20% that will generate 80% of our results. Once a keystone habit is established, we can easily adjust the system. Lastly, I teach everything you need to know to master your habits, generate motivation, and unlock the flow state in my new course, Obliterate Procrastination. You can also come directly to the Audacity University and become proficient in Jungian psychology in 1 year to either become your own analyst or integrate it into your coaching or therapeutic practice. Lastly, you can receive a free copy of my book, Pistes Demystifying Jungian Psychology, by joining my newsletter down below. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, leave a thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.